How's it going, everybody? I am Kyle from Fantasy Forge Studios, and we are back with some Adventures in Middle-earth, Session 31, our D&D 5e campaign of the Lord of the Rings set in the world of Middle-earth, taking place between the years of the War of the Ring and The Hobbit. We're very excited to be joined by all of our players tonight, and yeah, they're in the middle of something crazy. Something very crazy. A Folk-moot of Roscabel. But before we dive too much into that, let's go ahead and introduce our cast of characters, starting with Valineth.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dain, or Forge here at Fantasy Forge Studios, and I play the game. I play the character Valineth. He is a what is he? He's a high elf of Rivendell, and he is a scholar, meaning he's a healer. So he does all the healing stuff, and he's very excited to see where all of this Mogdred stuff is going down, or how it's going down, I guess.
Yeah. Our next character we have is Theodric.
Hey everybody, I'm that Tubby Australian. I play Theodric Grimborn. He is our Slayer of Rohan. And yeah, he's just kind of a little apprehensive of the Edgelord who's just crashed our party. Um, but is willing to give him a chance. Anyone who rocks up with orc heads can't be all bad. So yeah, we'll see where this goes.
Understandably so, Edgelord. I like that. I just recently found out what that means, but yes. I'm sure all of you who are watching this know a lot more about the D&D lingo than I do, so hey, there you go. Our next character is Jess.
Hello, I play Jess Mindsackful Baggins. My name is Leah, or Spiderfan33 in Twitch chat. I was actually not here, like on the stream, when Big Boy showed up. So I'm curious to see what everyone's talking about. It's gonna be a good time.
It's going to be a good time, absolutely. Which brings us to our final character, Feanor.
Hey guys, I'm Nick or Lavacrest in the chat, and Feanor is a Mirkwood Slayer. He went around very recently to pretty much most of the settlements in this whole area, and he's been making connections to try and push forward a plan that he has, which may be benefited from the guy who's just shown up. So we'll see how that goes.
It's gonna be a party. I've been very much looking forward to seeing what ends up happening this past week. We very much left it off on kind of a cliffhanger in the middle of this kind of uncertain situation. Not only are the important matters here being discussed at the Folk-moot between the company of adventurers and also the leaders of the Woodmen, but some nefarious things are at play in regards to goblins and wicked men and whatnot going on, which brings another piece to the table with Mogdred. And so if you want to catch up on our Adventures of Middle-earth, you can head over to our YouTube page and be able to check out all of the adventures, all 30 episodes that are out right now up until this point. But if you don't want to get any spoilers, but if you don't mind spoilers, you can watch this with us and enjoy a fun, probably roleplay heavy session. But yeah, without further ado, are the party members ready to dive into the conclusion here of the Folk-moot?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Heck yeah, let's do it. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? And so as the day draws on in this Folk-moot, not only have matters of trade been discussed and possible solutions to this, from the problem with the Beornings and the tolls in the Wilderland between Mountain Hall and the Woodman folk, to Amlioda asking requests for people to move to her settlement, along with Saywin, who technically answers have not been finalized about what the final word is. That does lay with Radagast as well, and has not been finally determined about whether he from the East Bite and his people can join the people of the Woodmen. But now a new individual riding up on horseback with a host of armored warriors at his back, come demanding a seat at the table, not only throwing down that he is the long-lost son of Ingolmer, his name is Ingold, or the ruler of Tyrant's Hill, Mogdred, but he also is here with a somewhat offering in the form of orc heads that have all spilled out onto the ground. He not only asks the group for a seat at the table, but he asks for a number of things, including wives, gold, and the ability to have the Black Tarn as part of his domain. And with that, I'm going to turn the Folk-moot over to the party. He is standing there. He is pointed at all of you, and the last words that you remember him uttering from his mouth is, "I want a seat in the councils of the Woodmen, tribute from the Black Tarn, wives for my warriors, and gold from the mountains. Clearly, you have no issue inviting those of distant realms into the issues of the Woodmen. Elves, dwarves, and mere children." He points his sword at Saywin. "That stranger offered you trinkets and sweet cakes. My offer is more of the practical sort." And with a nod, he urges his followers to upend the sack tied to the horses, and dozens of orc heads fall to the ground in front of them. "What say you, members of the council?" And with that, I turn it over. The evening has set, and the sun has begun to go down. The sounds of the night calls of the owls, of the insects, and the small little flame that flickers in the center of the group is quickly becoming some of the only light that is surrounding the area. But it casts this grim shadow upon this figure, this man who is very, very much related to Ingolmer, as some of you noticed at the end of last session. Very clearly his son Ingold. And with that, still completely aghast, shocked at the news, you can see that Ingolmer is shaking himself up from this news, almost as if he hadn't heard anything that was being said, other than the fact he hasn't even noticed these heads that have fallen on the floor. But you can see that Ingolmer's gaze is transfixed upon his son which he hasn't seen for the better part of 30 years.
Is he pretty much just frozen at this point? He doesn't really know how to react.
Yes, he is. You can hear words of kind of like stammering and grunts. He's not completely speechless, as if he's trying to recollect himself. But it doesn't seem he's in a state to directly address Mogdred at the current moment.
Well, Valineth speaks up to Mogdred. "I don't mean to get in between this family quarrel, but if you're here for the Folk-moot, why don't you join the circle? Is there any empty chairs or anything that he could potentially
There are no
sit in?"
empty chairs at the moment.
Well, Valineth, I think the first thing we should ask is, Mogdred, you've said you've come here for a seat at the table. This is not something that any woodman can claim to want. It is something that must be earned. Am I not right? Something that must be discussed with the existing leaders of the communities. There is no difference between you wanting to bring your people into the fold and this gentleman over here. Yes, you have a more direct line of woodman heritage, but to bring a new community into the fold, to engage in trade, to engage each of these people as your brethren and kin, must you not first ask if that is something that the Woodman realms are willing to do?
Your point is fair and just, Elf. Clearly, the Woodmen have... Well, clearly they have a habit in these peaceful days of inviting just anybody in. And perhaps the methods that you expressed to me are how you found a seat at this table. And he looks directly over to the woodman. I was under the assumption, Father, that it was my birthright to be here. Ever since my youngest days, I remember seeing you. I remember watching you as you led our people, the woodmen. Dreams of expansion. Everybody looked to you. You always taught me the importance of leadership. What it entails, what it requires of you. You are clearly the strongest amongst us. But even that wasn't enough. So to answer your question, shall I inquire for a seat at this table, or is it my birthright? I direct this to you, Father. Everything that you taught me for my first 7 years of life, has that all been a lie? The promise of bringing me up to be a strong leader. Clearly, I don't see my brother anywhere here. And you can see that there is kind of like this twitch in his face of seething anger. I'm going to have you, Feanor, make an insight check for me.
A 12.
A 12. As you gaze upon him, his words are directed more at his father than anyone. You can see that this is a man of clear stature and power, maybe from where he comes from. But in your eyes, he looks more like a quibbling child speaking to his father for the injustices that he's done to him.
By the way, how is everyone else reacting to it? Like all the other leaders of the Woodman tribes?
The only collected one that's been very obvious has been Heartfast. He was the one who initially addressed Mogdred, if you remember,
You have my
when
soul.
first refused to speak. Thank you so much for the follow, Airman. But with the rest of them, is there anyone in particular that you're looking at that you might want to insight?
Valneth?
Valneth.
I mean, he's just kind of looking around, and I guess more so, oh gosh, Salen or whatever his name is, Saywin, that's his name. Seeing how he's reacting to all this and how that's going down.
Make an insight check for me.
If my D&D Beyond, I'm gonna roll it on my compooper. My compooper insight, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See how long that takes to roll. A year. It's not bad. I'll take it. Maybe. It's not done rolling. 17.
17.
Yeah.
He has shrunk back completely into his seat. Any momentum that he had talking amongst the crowd, he seems is completely lost. He seems not necessarily upset, but he seems completely at a loss for anything. As if this moment took him by surprise, and he seems to have lost all confidence in the things that he had brought to the table. He looks directly at basically the pile of orc heads at the floor, just in disbelief.
Can I ask a question just because I've forgotten Kyle?
Yes.
Did Dagmar, when we questioned her on who she was hunting, did she call Baron by name?
She did not.
She did not?
And this was something Ingolmer brought up too, as you were departing, is
That's right.
specifically this, that we don't know if it's Baron that she was hunting, but do whatever with the information that you want. It's kind of up to you. with whatever evidence that has been already given to you.
Well, seeing all this going down, Valinus speaks up again and says, well, we can see that you're quite the warrior. And it seems like you are ridding at least Tyrant's Hill of these orcs. This is where you got these from, right? Tyrant's Hill, right?
Indeed.
Would
has
go
That's
ahead.
fine. You
Good.
go first. You go first.
I was just saying, would Valnith know how close to Tyrant's Hill Doldur is?
Make a traditions check for me.
My mobile app is taking forever to load, so I'm gonna have to roll via this. Is that good? Come on. 13.
13. You don't know specifically where Fenbridge is in regards to Tyrant's Hill. In fact, actually, Tyrant's Hill is something that you are. The name itself doesn't really ring a bell, and so every time that it's been brought up, you know it's a place. You know it's in Southern Mirkwood, but you don't really know exactly where it is.
Okay.
It's not some place in history that is given any particular significance that the Elves of Rivendell would be aware of, essentially.
Seeing as how like Mogdred's here, he's talking and stuff like that, and that Feanor is actually going to stand and approach him, and he's going to say, "While your presence here probably doesn't fit well with tradition, I do like someone who can make an entrance and speaks directly to their thoughts and what they believe. I am Feanor the Lactuin," and he offers his hand to him.
Make a persuasion or performance check for me.
A 9.
A 9. He looks at your hand and he looks you in your eyes. He hesitates for a moment, but he holds out his hand. And he grasps it. And he shakes it and he narrows his gaze a little bit. And he says, Feanor the Lochduin. I am Mogdred, Lord of Tyrant's Hill. You say that clearly I'm a warrior. Yes, this is true. But I come here seeking allies. Perhaps my initial introductions have stirred you the wrong way. And he looks at kind of the baffled expressions of everyone. But you see, we are a nation of warriors. And coexistence is possible when boundaries are respected. And he kind of glares over in kind of the left direction. He looks to be looking specifically at Ameliota. My forces serve as a deterrent, ensuring that the balance is maintained in my lands and the lands north of Tyrant's Hill. I have no interest in unnecessary conflict, which clearly the lot of you thinks that I bring in my wake. But hear me, I will protect what is mine. Make no mistake in that. But I come seeking allies. You claim that these are times of peace. But where my lands lie, as you can see, it's bloodshed and war that we deal with on a daily basis. And then he releases your hand.
I'm sure a question that... Oh, yeah, you go.
Hello. How tall is he in relation to me?
He's pretty tall. He's about 6'1", which makes him slightly shorter than Theodric.
Everyone's taller than you.
Well, yeah.
I
In
know.
relation- in relation
I
by
just
a
wanted
lot.
to know how bad a crick in my neck I'm gonna get tomorrow.
Aside from a dwarf, everyone's got at least 4 foot on you.
Yeah, I know.
It's a pretty strong
mean-
neck.
Hey, well, Feanor's then they got 3 feet. Oh, 3 feet on her.
Yeah, 3 feet. I'm only like 2'5". Yeah. Cool. Hi. My name's Jessamine Sackville-Baggins. You say that you wish to seek allies, and yet you claim tribute and women?
I claim the things
Is
that are
it-
necessary for my people. Indeed.
Is it allies that you're looking for, or are you looking for subjugation?
He looks at you and he nods. As he turns to address the entire crowd, he says, "Misunderstandings. Clearly, diplomacy is not my strong suit. And first appearances may have gone about the wrong way. Understand my requests as, yes, perhaps they appear," and he looks to you, Jess. "They appear substantial, but they are not without reason. Let me address each of my demands one at a time. In return, for a seat at the table of the Council of the Woodmen, I offer the strength and expertise of my warriors in defending our lands against the threats, such as the orc infestation at Fenbridge. Being a prisoner of Dol Guldur for most of my life provides me with soldiers and it provides me and my soldiers with a distinct and keen insight on the lands of the south that are cloaked in shadow and plagued with death, insight that might be of value to the Woodmen. As for the tribute from the Black Tarn, it is a recognition of the resources that flow from those lands that cross into our borders. Don't think that I don't know of your expansion," and he looks at Ameliota again. "An expansion that encroaches upon my territory of Tyrant's Hill. This tribute is simply a matter of diplomacy, as it is the people of the Black Tarn who have built a town on my lands. Wives, for my warriors, signify my willingness to integrate my people into the fabric of this land, to build lasting bonds and cooperation. This will ensure generations to fight back against the shadow, and blood bonds formed by direct kinship. Regarding the gold from the mountains that I seek," and he looks at Heartfast, "it'll be invested in the development of infrastructure and trade routes that are currently non-existent or lost to memory in the woods of the south, further enhancing the prosperity and safety of this region. There. My demands are explained. Any other questions?"
Jess will nod.
If I may.
Indeed. As my father sits quietly in the corner,
I believe that these are fair terms. That is what I am going to say here. That is my 2 cents. I myself was coming to this meeting to ask the people of the Woodlands to build up a standing army for any threats that come from the shadow. I do have a question though, Mogdred.
ask away.
Why now do you come here? Why not sooner? How long have your men been there at Tyrant's Hill? If it has been a year and you're a very new community, I could understand, but you seem to have strength and numbers and good equipment. Not things that are easily come by in places without trade and without materials. So why now? Why reveal yourself and come and confront your father and the council here? at this specific Folk-moot. You obviously knew where it would take place.
Indeed.
That is all.
Again, fair questions to ask. But I do say Feanor the Lochduin. Within your question, therein lies the answer. Why now? Why now indeed? And he starts walking around the middle of the fire. Again, drawing eyes on everybody as he passes. My vision is one of strength and self-sufficiency. Mirkwood is a land with untapped potential, and I intend to harness its resources to establish a realm that answers to no one but itself. As for my goals, they are to bring an end to all who threaten me and my people. Why now? 5 years ago, when the necromancer was banished from Dol Guldur, me and my people were freed. Freed from his grasp. We were left in the ruins of that sunken crypt. The dank dungeons that we had grown to become home for so long. The darkness that encroached our hearts and every fiber of our being. This was the first moment that we were greeted with the realities of the world. We emerged from that place, not knowing what the state of the rest of the world brought. All we knew was treachery and power. We made our way north, founded ourselves on Tyrant's Hill, to which we got rid of whatever lingering orc scum was there, laying to take root, and spread the malice of the necromancer even in his departure. It was a tough battle. The few of us that survived those dungeons in Dol Guldur, we were tired. We were exhausted. And slaying such horrid beasts driven by anger, it wasn't without loss. Over the course of the next 3 years, I began to gather followers. Some of which are woodmen themselves. Some of which travelers amongst the road. Some of which come from far and beyond. Some of which servants of the necromancer himself, repurposed for the defense of Tyrant's Hill. Yes, we are heavily armored. We do have the gear to be able to protect ourselves. We are not skilled blacksmiths, but we have our ways. Perhaps unsavory in the eyes of the free folk, but we have our ways. We gathered in a mass of wealth, plundering both Fenbridge, whatever we could find in Dol Guldur, and the lands south of Mirkwood, until we were able to find people and find a means to fashion a military, a force that would protect us from the evils that dwelt within Mirkwood. As for I knew naught of the outside world. None of what was beyond. And he thinks for a moment. That was until we met someone from the outside. Trespassing onto my lands with information aplenty. I learned of the fates of the woodmen, and I learned of the fate of you, Father. Allies. These 5 years I've been gaining allies. So why now? I come to ally myself with my people, with my birthright.
Valineth looks at him up and down and says, "You say repurposed. Are you working with orcs? Are you working with goblins of that dreaded place?"
I have no love for orcs. I have no love for goblins. The past is a shadow, and I'm a creature of the present, and so are my men and those who follow me. The necromancer and his flight from that place of Dol Guldur, it is not forgotten on us, and I hold no allegiance to that power, and neither do my men. I am here to forge my own path for what is good for the people of Tyrant's Hill, independent of past shackles. Does that answer your question? I'm gonna have all of you make insight checks for me.
I mean, no, that doesn't. That decidedly does not answer any of our questions.
I know.
I got a 10.
17 for
8.
Valineth.
I also got a 10.
10, 17, and 8. Who's a 17?
Valineth.
Valineth. You see, the words that he is speaking seem to be coming from somewhere deep within.
Mhm.
He's drawing them out as if it's painful. You notice a hint of deception in his eye.
Young one, I know you haven't spent much time here in this world of Middle-earth, but nothing good comes from working with the Shadow. You should know better than any of them. You experienced it, and you lived on it. Yes, you're living close to the Shadow still. We need to eradicate it. If you're ever to be part of the Woodmen, you can't have any ties to this. I hope you understand that. You have to cut those, no matter how
I
difficult that may
second
be.
that. My people in the Mirkwood. Shadow has dwelt there too long, and it is tearing that place apart.
Make a... Theodric, do you have something to add?
Just while this is going on, can I do a perception check or maybe an insight check to see if I can get anything from the men who arrived with Mogdred?
Yeah, go ahead and make an insight check for me. Valineth, I'm gonna have you make a perception check, and Feanor, because of your addition, this could be at advantage.
I got a 13 on my insight check.
13.
For
As you
Mogdred's
look at the
companions.
people while Mogdred speaks, you look at the men, and they are all stoic. None of them have removed their helmets. None of them seem to have any hands on weapons at all. They seem completely in control, or under the control of Mogdred. They don't seem to pose any threat at this current moment, but they seem trained, and they seem formidable.
What can I tell about their armor with that insight? Is there anything?
This looks to be man-made, so it doesn't look to be of orcish make.
Okay.
It is a mostly chainmail with kind of some cloth signifiers on top. It's uniform, and it looks to be heavily used.
Okay,
Most of
thank
them
you.
have smears of blood on it, darkened black blood, from what you know is the blood of orcs and goblins. They look to be a people at war, and they seem hardened by it.
Valineth got 21, by the way. For his
21.
perception. Thank you for the insight, by the way. Or for the
Persuasion?
for the
Perception or persuasion?
advantage.
Yeah,
Perception.
that's all good.
it was a persuasion check.
It was persuasion.
So what modifier would you use instead?
So take the roll and then add whatever the modifier is.
Yeah. Okay. So that would have been a 16.
16. He looks
Mhm.
at you, Valineth. He looks at you, Feanor, and he kind of bows his head a little bit. He quivers and he looks up at his father, and for the first time in Golmer, raises his head and meets his eye and walks over to him. He places a hand on his shoulder and says, "Ingold, my son, what have you been through these past 30 years? You must tell me. We must know." He looks he looks at his father, but he looks back to you, Valineth. "I understand." And he steps back from his father. He kind of pushes the hand off. "Trust is earned and not given freely. While my ambitions are mine alone, I do understand the value of alliances. In time, actions do speak louder than words ever will. And we shall see if our paths either converge or diverge at this juncture. But an alliance might
My
go
lord.
a long way to persuading me and understanding your vision." And he sees Jess. Yes, do you have something?
My Lord Mogdred, would it be... Would you consider dining with me? There is a camp not too far out here, just outside of... what was the city?
Yes.
Roscabel, yeah. Just outside Roscabel, we could rest there. Your men could rest and eat while these fine folk discuss.
Make a persuasion check for me.
Can Valineth take a quick look across the table and see how Radagast is reacting to all this?
God damn it.
Radagast looks kind of like wide-eyed and looking back and forth, seeing kind of everything unfold. He seems uncomfortable. Maybe not for the reasons everybody else is, though. What was your persuasion
Val-
check, Jess?
I used an inspiration, so it's 10.
10. Circumstances might dictate that would be unwise. However, my men are weary and they are hungry. It's been a long ride. I need a few words with my father and the rest of the group. If you lead my men to the campsite, you will have your conversation and your meal with me. That is not an unreasonable request.
Thank you, my lord. And I'll do a little curtsy.
And he gives you a short
Trot
little
off.
bow. Perfect. And as you do so, the men immediately follow you in tow. They all dismount from their horses and they begin following you down the hill. Every single one of them without even looking back.
That's crazy. Okay.
he looks to his father. And he looks to Valinith too, and you can see what looks to be a quiver in his lip. Father, all I ever wanted was to make you proud of me. I did what I had to endure, to survive. I am a survivor, Father. But I'm also not innocent in all of this either. And he turns around and he faces away and he looks downcast. He looks at the orc heads that are on the ground and he kicks one of them. Not super hard, not Aragorn in the Two Towers moment, but he kicks one of them. And he stops. You have to understand where I've come from, where I've been raised for the better part of my life. Any sign of weakness is used against you, especially which being vulnerability. I empty myself out to you as a counsel, so you may know that there's nothing left to hide. At the age of 7, I was captured by orcs. I was taken to Dol Guldur, where I would endure the better part of 10 years in the pit. The darkest dungeons, never once seeing daylight. Day in and day out, I was tortured, as they attempted to twist me either to death or to become a shadow of myself that I once was. There were many others stronger than me, others older than me, that perished in these circumstances. The orcs that were there, they were ruthless. The necromancer and his word, even more so. That place was a place of nightmares. When I reached fighting age, no older than this one here, and he points his finger over to the Theodric, one of the orc captains, they noticed my endurance. They noticed my strength. I had mentioned before I had seen nothing but darkness and strength, so I learned to become strong. This orc, a vile creature by the name of Maghaz, he took me under his wing. And yes, I became a captain, rising in the ranks, doing the will of the necromancer, and in the process seeking the downfall of the free peoples. This, and he shudders. This brought me so far as even to earn me a seat at the right hand of the necromancer, surpassing even that of Maghaz. He trusted me, and I did his bidding. The necromancer saw strength within me. Strength that would serve his legions. Until one fateful day, he was beset upon. A group of great, powerful beings stormed the gates of Dol Guldur and banished my old master. At this, he fled. And we were betrayed. Those loyal to my rule, those who survived, we are who founded Tyrant's Hill and the new kingdom in southern Mirkwood. But I have no love for the orcs. I have no love for my old master. Those orcs tortured me and the people that I cared about day in and day out. I'm a survivor. I did what it took to survive. I have laid everything out onto the table.
Can Valnith insight that as far as like? I mean, it seems very truthful. But more so like when he's talking about this, can he sense shadow or something coming off of it? Can he sense
Make a shadow
if it
check
is?
for me.
I don't know how to explain it, but he's looking for. That's a 21.
As he speaks, you almost begin to picture yourself in his very shoes. Every word of pain that he expresses brings pain to your very heart and your very being. You can sense whatever he went through, whatever he experienced. It clouded him in deep shadow. And yet he is here.
Can I still sense that shadow? Is it still deep on him? Is it
Not
still
from what
ingrained on his?
Not from what you can tell.
Okay. Valnith stands up and walks over to him and puts a hand on his shoulder if he can. Will he allow it?
He's been allowing it thus far.
Okay. He looks at him in the eyes, and they're about the same height. He's maybe a little bit taller than Valnith, and he looks at him in the eyes, and with a very stern and serious look, he says, "I empathize with you. My master was one of those few, or was one of those who were part of that group, who brought down the necromancer at Dol Guldur. I can't imagine what you've been through. But you need to let go of those shackles, my young friend. Even if that means changing your name." What was his previous name? Master or
Ingold.
Lore Master? Ingold.
Yeah.
I think you'll go a long way to the Woodman, to your father, and to everyone, to drop the name that you were given under the Necromancer and start anew. Ingold.
Ingold is dead. He died a long time ago down in those pits. Mogdred is not a name that was gifted to me. It was a name I gifted to myself in my newfound freedoms. I have a dread past. That is something that is a part of me. That is something that is ingrained in me. And not something I can forget. Those shadows that lay down in the pit, the shadows that surrounded the necromancer, they shaped me. But they do not rule me.
That is good to hear, young one. However, and Valnith turns his attention actually over to the wizard. We have another one who was here, who was there during that incursion on Dol Guldur.
Yes, indeed.
Radagast, what do you have to say?
That is a place I would not even wish my most foul enemies to creep. The hold that the necromancer had on Dol Guldur. It was great. It nearly brought an end to Mithrandir. Gandalf. There is a shadow. There's a shadow that lingers upon that place. And if what you say is true, that there are orcs at Fenbridge, that shadow has not yet been abolished. Not completely. I don't remember seeing your face. But I do know that look in your eyes. It is the look of sorrow. The look of betrayal. It is. The look of hopelessness.
And Mogdred, he shakes himself away from the piercing gaze of the wizard. And he looks to his father. It's painful to admit, Father. But the son that you knew, the son that you raised, he no longer exists. But that doesn't mean that I am not without hope. I've seen what it means to lead. Those lessons you taught me when I was young. And though it pains me to say it, I can't do it alone. And have Theodric, Valneth, and Feanor make insight checks for me.
7.
I got a nat 1. Well, not a nat 1, but I got a 1.
Valneth's going to use his inspiration that he has, and he's going to use it in a way to recall using his scholarly, what's it called? The study that he did. Yeah, or the study that he did back at Woodman Hall, Wood Assault. And he's gonna try to recall something that he learned. And again, this is the one opportunity that I'll be using that inspiration for an automatic pass, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You look closely at him, and you can sense that while what he claims seems to hang true, there's still a shadow of a woodman standing in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You see that his fate, it hangs in the balance. He is a lost soul. You see that he is seeking refuge.
Mm-hmm.
You see that he is seeking assistance.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help but
Mm-hmm.
note that whatever happens here is going to shape Mogdred's fate for years to come going forward.
Okay. Valneth sees him and looks at his father, Ingolmer, and looks, and not necessarily addressing either of them specifically, but more both of them in a sense. I'm on a journey to seek my father. And if there's anything that I've learned in my years here on Middle-earth, it's that family is important. The relationships we make are important. but they're nothing like that of a father and his son. Ingolmer, your son's home. Ingold, your home. You don't know, neither of you know the deepest extents of what actually happened to each other. Those are your experiences themselves, but in this moment, there should be a moment of rejoicing between the two of you. For the long-lost son is home. And he sits back down.
He sees the faces of everybody, and generally, they seem to have softened. There's still a look of shock, and there's still a look of perhaps concern. But Valineth, I'm going to have you make a performance check or a persuasion check for me. This can be at advantage and +2.
Well, you know, it's both. It's a persuasion. He's trying to persuade more so than performance, so it's a good thing it's at advantage. Oh, no! No! Why?
Now, it was technically higher.
Why? Why is it technically higher?
You got a
Because
+2.
it's higher.
You got a +2 as well. Remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know. I
yeah.
get it. But they were
No, I
two
know.
horrendous rolls.
The dice just don't want you to have this one, okay?
All right, I will roll a D16.
Panic and hope that the D16 does something. It
My
will not.
goodness.
But
Or if anyone in chat has
bet it rolls an
25,000
11.
channel points they want to use.
I do, but I'm not going to use it on this.
That is a 6.
This seems
You
pretty
had advantage.
important.
The dice have spoken, okay?
Yep, you just weren't. It just wasn't supposed to happen.
It's a 5.
5. You look at the group around you, and everybody is still unsure. They seem perturbed. But again, their expressions have softened a bit. Mogred looks at you as if he knows that you've seen right through him. And he addresses the crowd in one last plea. You see, I seek not only to take, but to give. To ensure that our alliance is mutually beneficial. My people and I are prepared to work alongside the Woodmen, contributing our strength and resources for the betterment of Mirkwood as a whole. Today, we lay this option before you. We come as willing allies to the people of Mirkwood. Will you answer our offer in peace? Or will you reject me and my people? Something that you have proven you are clearly capable of. And with that, he turns around and he begins to walk away. I will await your answer. And he vanishes into the forest.
Well, that was exhilarating.
yeah, it's
About
intense.
team. Oh my gosh.
Emilia, I saw that Mogdred was paying particular attention to you.
Yes.
What are these greater expansions? I've been to the Black Tarn. Have you been sending scouts out into the woods? Have you had run-ins with his people before?
No. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Because he clearly seemed to know who you were by sight.
Tyrant's Hill is within a close vicinity. Up until now, I've always thought of it as an abandoned, forsaken place. We are expanding, you've seen that.
Yes.
I had no intention and no understanding that the lands around the Black Tarn were anything other but the domain of the Woodmen. But it makes sense. These years of peace. Then she lets out like a deep sigh and stares downcast at the ground. She nervously shakes. You can see her thumbs twiddling around as if in deep contemplation or even panic.
Well, what is people's opinions on Mogdred? I'd like to know what they think before I give my opinion. Lord Hartfast, what did you
Yes.
think of the young warrior?
From my experience, I know what it means to cope with darkness. I know what it means to cope with loss. Clearly he's formidable and strong. Something the Woodmen need. I just don't know. There's something about him. Something that's off. It is clear. This is your son, Ingolmer. My opinions matter not. Ingolmer. This is the return of your son. What words do you have to say on such a matter? And Ingolmer, he stands and you can see as he watches his son disappear, eyes kind of glazed over in disbelief. He snaps himself back into it as he hears his name. I hardly recognized him. But it is no mistake. That is Ingold. And he grips kind of his axe. And he lets the head fall to the ground. Dealing with those that you've lost. To them essentially resurrecting as if a ghost before your very own eyes. Nigh unrecognizable. But he laid everything out on the table. I know my son. I sensed no hint. No hint of deception in his words. I cannot speak to his character. I cannot speak of the things that he is capable of. The only thing I can speak to is he has come to us. He turns his gaze. He looks at the rest of the group. Galavira seems to be waiting patiently, holding on to every single word that Ingolmer is saying. She seems unswayed either way. You look at Fridwold. He seems the calmest out of everybody here. And he looks to each of you and he says, "Well, we were all outcasts at one point in our time. In fact, Woodman Town, we were built upon the backs of those who were dejected, abandoned. And Ingolmer,
You agreed to build a settlement for us. And now we are the largest city amongst the woodmen, not counting Mountain Hall. But none of us have endured such evil. But I am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, as it is what he says. It is the actions. It is the actions that will prove his worth. Ameliota, she... I can't. You must understand, I can't do this to my people. We cannot be subject to a ruler. It goes against everything that the woodmen stand for. Yes, I am a leader of my people, but I am no queen. I am no lord. I can't give my word either way. And Radagast, he mentions,
Yes. That boy is indeed touched by the shadow. But I understand. Those who ask for help are not completely lost. His father was the necromancer for some time. He's looking to find a void to fill within his own heart, a sense of belonging. That boy is trying to find his place in the world.
And he looks directly into your eyes, Valineth.
You've seen his heart, haven't you? What
Valineth
say
nods.
you?
Valineth says, he has hope in him. I believe in him. I believe he's not too far gone. That isn't to say there shouldn't be precautions to be taken. I don't feel all of his demands are fair, especially in the city state that he's in. However, his heart isn't completely gone. And against the shadow, the more numbers we have, the better. And I worry that if he is rejected, he'll turn back to it. And that's what Valineth, and then he just kind of looks down.
The rest of you, do you have anything else to add?
If Faina's going to wait till the very end. So if there's anything...
This is the
Um,
end.
Theodric-
Everybody, all of the leaders have spoken. Saywin and Beaufrey are sitting quietly.
Theodric will stand and address the crowd. He says, "While I find his tactics and introduction were heavy-handed, to say the least, as were demanding, he has provided the two things that Sayanwin could not, the things that were the reason for your apprehension in welcoming his people. He has shown that he does not need to be defended, nor do his people, and he has shown that he does have Woodman blood. I believe that the same as Valineth, and the same as Lord Radagast. He's lost. He's been through something that most of us can't even imagine. And yet he's here trying to, if not make amends, trying to make some sort of connection with his people. As uncouth and as rough as he has been, he's trying. And I do agree with Valineth. If you turn him away, he may just become what I think everybody here fears. He may become some sort of new dark force in Dol Guldur.
In Golmer, he says, he may become a tyrant.
He may. But I don't think he will if he's surrounded by people who can steer him right, who can help him remember what the Woodmen stand for, what he should stand for. And Theodric will sit back down.
In Golma, in our times that we have spoken, you have seemed like a kind and just man. You have almost rejected the idea of being a lord or being a king of these people. You are a leader. Much as Emilioda said, she is a leader to her people, but she is no queen. I believe that yes, he should be able to rejoin his people. The strength of him and his men and their hardships that they have faced will strengthen the Woodmen. But I do not believe that because Emilioda and her people built on land that had been unclaimed for decades, if not longer, because of the Shadow, because of the Necromancer. Land that had not been outrightly claimed, but now Mogdred himself says that he demands tribute. I do not think this is fair and does not align with what I know of the peoples of the Woodlands. I believe that perhaps trade should be set up between the settlements, but to benefit both. I think that the power here as a council should respect Emilioda and her peoples and their wishes before introducing a new folk. I still think that, yes, he should join. He seems like a capable young warrior. And if what he says is true, then it's best to keep him close than to let him roam on his own.
Heartfast, he interrupts.
Indeed. What is it they say? Keep your enemies close at hand.
And if he should prove himself and his peoples to be what he is claiming, then it will only strengthen the Woodmen. I doubt that anyone here is not going to view his peoples with some level of suspicion for some time, as you would with any new folks. I know myself, I know I am elvenkind. But when I passed through these lands, I was still met with suspicion because I was not known. When I passed through Galavira's territories, when I went back to Woodman Town, I was greeted warmly as a friend. And my hope is that his peoples can one day gain the trust that is needed to be met the same way. It is not my place to say whether he should be allowed back amongst your peoples. But I trust that you will hear my judgment and my thoughts and take them into your consideration. And Gulma, he is your son, so regardless of whatever agreement is reached here, I believe that you owe it to him and the sacrifice he made as a child to try and rekindle some kind of bond there, even if your lands aren't allies. And Feanor is going to sit.
Huzzah to that.
Theodric, if you are there, he might be gone, but he'll be right back. Oh, you there? Okay. I'm going to have you, Theodric, make a shadow lore check for me.
Okie dokie. I was eating chicken and didn't want to be disruptive.
No worries.
so-
I wasn't sure if you
Set-
left
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
but
That
Sets
is-
immense shadow on Feanor. No. No.
That is a 8.
you seem to remember something. Something that just now strikes you. A voice in the back of your head. One shrouded in darkness may prove to be a beacon of hope. If only you dare to place your trust in them.
I knew it. Shadow Daddy, is that you?
Oh
Yes, it
God.
is. You haven't dreamed lately. I missed you.
Too much caffeine. No. Excellent. I thought as much. We've already kind of set our piece, so I don't know if...
Feanor's just waiting to hear what people are going to say.
Mm.
As there is much deliberation and debate, we move to Jess. These 12-ish warriors have sat around this campfire. And they are all stoic and quiet. All looking almost blankly at you as you prepare whatever feast, whatever meal you wish to do.
It's chicken soup.
Chicken soup. I love it.
Assuming I have the ingredients. But
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Chicken soup.
Absolutely. And as probably about 25 to 30 minutes pass, and eventually Mogdred, sullen-faced, joins the group.
What happens if I try to attempt to engage any of the soldiers in conversation?
You can absolutely try. How do you want to do that?
Um,
I'm assuming
what do you
prior to the arrival.
Yeah, prior to Modred, the soup's on is simmering. It'll be done in however long. And she'll just look around and go, this is a very odd sort of campsite because even though she's not very well traveled, the campsite she's been part of in the past, traveling to the East Leon or traveling to here, it's always been pretty relaxed. And it seems not that, they're still on duty mentally.
Yes.
Interesting. So what do the crowd look like? Are they all mostly men, or are there any women there?
They are all men. Actually, one thing that you've noticed is all of the people are men with the exception of Dagmar that you've seen. They're a boys' club.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Dagmar is absolutely perfect, I have to say. Okay. Any distinguishing characteristics some of them have, or
They all
No.
look... I'm going to actually have you make an insight check for me.
oh boy. This is why I wanted proficiency in insight. Oi!
Oh, oof.
No.
Oof.
I got a 0.
Oh,
They...
oh no.
You
The
look at
soup
them...
just starts boiling over and I get distracted.
Yeah, they're completely a blank slate. They seem almost not human in the state that there doesn't seem to be anybody there. They seem to be almost pawns in whatever they're ordered to do, as if they have no free will of themselves. You have no way of knowing this, but at least that's how they're acting. You try to engage them in any kind of conversation, and it's met with grunts and essentially small kind of yeses and knows. Not a lot of conversation you're coming at. They have 0 social skills from what you can tell.
Okay, yeah.
It's awkward as
Fair
heck.
enough.
FYI.
Yeah, okay. I abandoned that very quickly and just go back to like soup. Add some lemon in.
The soup smells delicious, and this itself you would think would pique up the interest, and it actually does, as the first thing
Okay.
that Mogdred says as he makes his way in is, "This is the best smell I've smelled in I can't remember how long. Men, you can lower your guard. We are joined by potential friends." And immediately all of them drop their facade, and you can see just like this relaxed posture within them. They seem to start chit-chatting amongst themselves as if, not necessarily friends, but definitely like coworkers or like acquaintances. And they do comment, you do hear comments of, "Oh, it smells so good," and then they can't wait for the food and all that kind of stuff. But Mogdred, he takes a seat kind of cross-legged. He doesn't sit on any chairs or anything, but cross-legged and hunched over, kind of like stroking his face, gazing into the fire. You can see that he is squinting as well, as if trying to think about something or whatever the case.
Okay. Yeah. I'll get him a bowl first. And I'll actually bring it to him. Before I announce that the soup's ready to everyone in general. And then I think like the next few minutes are taken up with me like filling everyone's bowls and making sure that no one's taking too much.
You hear
that kind of thing.
Like a mixture of like and like "thank you," and like there's a couple that are like "thank
Yeah.
you, my lady," and like things like that, as you like various different kinds of just general acceptances of the
Yep,
some
okay.
more grateful than others.
Yeah, sure.
You give it to Mogdred, and he takes it and he takes his eyes off the fire. He looks at you and says, "Thank you. I'm sorry, but I never asked your name." And he takes it and he sips.
I'll settle down beside him at this point. To say, it's Jess. Jess Mindsackville Baggins. I hail from the Shire.
He thinks, "This is good soup."
Thank you. I confess. Okay.
And you can confess when you're inciting.
Okay. I confess. I got a 5.
This is the typical
I-
reaction to people eating your food, especially people outside of the Shire.
Okay. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with the political intricacies and customs of this land. I feel like an intruder. Thanks for getting me out of it.
Believe it or not, this was the first diplomacy I've ever had to cope with in my life.
I believe it.
It was that
Not in
bad, was
any-
it?
Well, it reminds me a lot of this story my nan used to tell me. See, she was a healer back home, and she'd always say that the farmers are the worst ones to heal because they're so stubborn they'd never admit anything is wrong to begin with, so they have to rely on their wives and their sisters and, you know, the people they care about in their lives to go to the healer in the first place. And then once they're there, they're so stubborn and defensive, they don't listen properly. They turn on the attack when sometimes they just should be listening and letting people help them. And again, I don't recognize any of the culture or the customs of this place, and she, at this point, she looks at him very seriously and she says, but I do recognize hurt when I see it.
He nods his head. He takes one last sip of his soup and sets it down, and he leans back in the grass, and he finds a small stone, and he begins tossing it up and down to himself as he begins to kind of reflect.
I'm going to settle down and I'm going to bring out my pipe.
Hurt. I've been hurting for the better part of my life. Throughout my life, what I was taught in my captivity was I had to fight for everything. If it wasn't demanded, it wasn't given. I did not come here seeking trust, nor did I expect it to be given freely. My intent was to make a statement, not to appease. In a land where power is respected, the power of the woodmen are strong. I learned this from my father growing up. I simply did what I could to display my strength, to ensure that my presence was acknowledged. Trust may come with time and shared interests, but I did not expect to find favor with the council based on first impressions. He stops, he catches it, and he looks over to the side as you begin smoking your pipe.
Yeah. It smells like summer. Like a warm garden with the flowers in bloom.
He takes a deep inhale. You know, I had almost forgotten what the smell of a summer breeze felt like. I had almost forgotten what it felt like to not have a care in the world. When I was locked in the pits, every time I would search for that memory of home, I was drawn back into darkness and despair. And the world outside had died, just as Ingold had died. All I knew was the inside of the prison cells. The blackened stone, the putrid stink. Not a breeze to be had. Shrieks in the distance. I knew not the sound of birds, the humming of bees. I knew only rejection. I knew only acts of power. Whether they were getting me to speak, whether they were getting me to do the menial tasks, whether it was just spite and hate for me and my kind. I bear those scars. I can recognize the smell of summer. I can recognize the taste of soup. hearty chicken broth. But my heart can't fully grasp it. It doesn't feel real. I have become numb. And same with many of my men. War and bloodshed is all we know. It is what we're good at. If the woodmen have it, if the woodmen will have us, they will have a strong ally. But if not, and he begins tossing the rock up and down.
Maybe you just need a second bowl. And I'll get him a second serving.
You grab it and you offer it to him. And as you do so, a number of the other warriors are, wait, seconds? Room for seconds. And they're kind of like looking and like whispering, and some of them are like, shh, it's for Lord Mogdred. And like they're like themselves. And but you take it back over to him, and he sits up and he takes it gratefully and begins sipping on it.
What about second soup? Does he know about those?
Jess definitely made enough for 2 helpings for everyone.
He sips it. I had forgotten the comforts of home. But nothing about home is comforting to me these days.
Well, you don't truly know what home is. You were ripped from your life just as a child. How could you know?
He thinks for a moment. Difficulty to speak. I'm gonna have you make an insight check.
Oh my god. Okay.
Third time's the charm.
This is a
Good luck.
This is a
good
bit of
luck,
a stretch,
good
okay?
luck,
I
good
think I
luck.
have something. Okay, so reading my equipment, right? Let me see.
Why do I feel like we're gonna need to do some D&D lawyering to get this to work?
just a little bit. Okay. So
This ought to be good.
according to the text on my pipe, if you spend 1 hour smoking your pipe while considering a problem, you may make an ability check with your proficiency bonus against a DC of 15. On a success, you make the immediate follow-on check with advantage. On a failure, you wasted the hour, but you had a good smoke. Okay. Does that apply? That's all I'm asking.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Mogdred is a slow eater, it would seem.
I've spent some time, okay? I've been cooking, I've been smoking, okay?
You're smoking, you're inciting, you're studying every morsel of this man. He's curious to you. He is the ultimate edgelord.
All I can think of,
His hair's like swooped in front of his eye, and
all I can
Yeah,
think
he's
of,
not quite Batman, he's different somehow.
all I can think of when you said that she's inciting him is, you know that meme of Miles Morales doing this while he's watching Peter Parker, real close. That's all I can think of. Just Jessamine 2 feet away from Mogdred's face, smoking her pipe.
staring directly
That's
at
Staring
it.
so
directly in the
true.
eye.
And in the
Crazy.
meantime, he's just sitting there with his soup like Donald Driver. Good soup. That's all he's doing.
Good s-
Okay, so I make an ability check first?
Yes, so this is going to be, you can choose between insight or perception.
Okay, I'm gonna go perception because I'm better at perception. And then with advantage?
Yes, and then if you
Okay.
pass the
Oh,
DC
right.
15, your insight check will be at advantage.
Oh, okay, yep, I understand. Okay, so flat perception, and then if I succeed the DC, then
Yes.
the insight is
Yes.
at advantage.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Fingers crossed.
Think of Gandalf sitting there
I-
smoking, contemplating the worries of the world. That's
that's
kind
the
of what's
one.
going on.
Okay, I didn't pass the DC, but that's okay.
Sometimes you
I'll-
just get really high and you don't solve your problem.
but
Specifically in
that's okay. I had a
Gandalf's
good
case.
smoke.
Absolutely.
Okay, insight was not good. It was a 2.
He's a curious fellow. One of the things that perhaps there's something about him that seems off, something that you've never encountered on any person before. Coming from the Shire, not necessarily everybody's jovial, but there's this sense of something more, something hopeful. You don't see traces of that on him. He seems absolutely absent of he's a baby. He knows nothing except for pain, except for sorrow. You contemplate this, and it hurts. For the first time probably in your entire life, you can start to begin to grasp what this shadow is that people have been talking about. He seems, if not consumed by it, it seems to hover over him like a looming cloud. This is less, though, of you being able to determine like what his thoughts are, other than just the general feeling that comes off of him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's kind of more of like a self-reflection of, wow, this guy's different. What is it about him that's different? As opposed to trying to insight what he's thinking or what he's feeling.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
I may ask you, Jess, why do you feed me and my men? Why do you show acts of kindness when it is clear from what I experienced up there that we don't deserve such?
I would like to give you a sincere answer, but do you mind if I make a joke first?
If it's funny, I'll laugh.
Okay. Well, let's just say I do make a hobbit out of it. Okay. Well, part of it is habit. I seek to heal broken things by nature, and one of the best ways I know how to do that is to give people food and rest and comfort. I like to fix broken things, but listening to you talk, you're what my parents might call a self-fulfilling prophecy. You told yourself that you wouldn't make a good impression on the Folk-moot, and you decided that you didn't care about their opinion one way or the other. So it seems to me that you deliberately planned your approach to alienate them.
Make a riddle check for me.
Oh, I'm actually good at riddles. Oh, I'm so good at riddles, guys. Don't worry, I got this.
We believe in you.
Yes. I got a 19 plus 1. It's 20.
That's not something that I've ever thought of. Don't get me wrong. The people that I surround myself, they're not all good people. But they all do as I say, and they respect me as a leader. But I think the respect only runs shallowly. I was once a person of great power, back where I was captive. In the latter part of my stay in the pits of Dol Guldur, people answered to me, and I to the necromancer. I guess I'm just doing what I know. Striking fear into the hearts of others. Striking fear into those that are my ally in order to help them see reason, help them see my usefulness. It's all I've ever been good for. Everybody, we're back on. Hey.
Hey.
How's it going? Alright. Cool. Sorry, my computer overheated. This is a
That's
problem.
bad.
This Baldur's Gate will do this to your computer. It makes it overheat, and then apparently it's prone to doing so. But anyway, we're back.
You need to get like a IEC unit.
I do. It just has never happened during. Well, I guess that's not entirely true, but we're back. Hi, how's it going?
And we're
everybody?
back.
Now we are back.
God, we streamed a lot this week. 2 D&D sessions in 1 week. Jesus Christ.
True dat. Are we all good?
I think back.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm good. I'm just checking with the
Refresh.
chat to make sure.
Yeah.
Like, what's the last thing they got?
All right.
when precisely did the stream drop out?
At some point. I don't know.
Continuing
At some
onward.
point, who knows?
I guess we could
Okay.
just rewind a little bit. It is all I had ever known. And I understand that perhaps my way of dealing with things are a self-fulfilling prophecy. I've always expected failure, overcoming it with my own displays of power. That's how I've known anybody that's been worth a salt in the pits of Dol Guldur has ever gotten anything, has ever gotten ahead. This was a display. This was a display to gain trust. No, not trust. This was a display to give me power. I understand that relationships being as they are, what an ally to me is someone you always have to keep an eye on. As long as your immediate goals line up, you have nothing to worry about. But just as you gain something that the other wants, they will do anything to backstab you and take it from you. My displays of power, my displays of fear are to dissuade the likes. And he breathes in and out as if a great anxiety has been lifted from him. A weight has been lifted from his chest. I long for the days that I can feel for home. Yes.
Jess will reach out somewhat hesitantly and grab his hand, if he'll let me.
Make a... Is this in a comforting way?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a persuasion check for me.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, that's a 16.
You can feel an immediate jerk as you touch his hand. He doesn't grab back, but he doesn't not let you hold his hand.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just give it like the sort of just mine, trademarked. It's not trademarked. And I'll just say it wasn't your fault. No child should have been put through what you were through. No one, no man or beast or elf or dwarf, at any point in their life should be torn from their family like that. You did what you had to do to survive. That makes you strong. That makes you stronger than me and probably 98% of people in the world. You're here. You're still breathing. It was not your fault. It was not your fault.
For so long. You can sense almost a bit of anger in his voice. I've endured completely alone. Truth be told, I was afraid to know what was out beyond the borders of southern Mirkwood. I was afraid to know if my Da would be waiting for me. I was afraid to be hurt. I was afraid for him to see what I have become. But most importantly, I was afraid to look my father in the eyes and say that I don't regret a single thing that I had experienced. I felt pain. I felt torment. It shaped me. But I am strong. I'm so riddled with hate and anger all the time. But it's what pushes me forward. Why is it that I keep fighting? I could have moved elsewhere. I could have gone beyond Tyrant's Hill. Until I saw those who looked to me. And together, we were stronger. Together, with each passing day, we fought the orcs that come from Fenbridge. We fought the stragglers from the pits of Dol Guldur. And one day, I will look into the face of Maghaz. I will look into his swollen, ancient eyes. And I will say that I am free. Hate is what drives me. Hate is what keeps me fighting. But I'm not stupid. I know I cannot do it alone. I will do what it takes to make sure I am on the right side of history. I will be there to watch the shadow fall, but I will be there if it is raised in a blazing light, in fire. I am strong and I will fight.
Just will consider this a moment. It's understandable that hate drives you when hate and fear are all you ever known. But you should know that these are considered to be peaceful lands, and in peaceful lands, hate has its place, yes, but most people do what they do out of sense of love. They
Shudders at that word. He almost like regresses back into himself. And he looks at you. Continue.
They do it out of protectiveness. Feanor has set himself a grand mission to rid the land of shadow. I don't think I fully understood why until I met you. He fights for people like you so that, well, anyone like you will not have to go through what you went through ever again. And he does not know you. I don't know his whole story. Perhaps he knows someone like you.
There's a clear state of confusion that as he furrows his brow and he takes in what you're saying. He looks to you. These lands are peaceful because of my hate. It is I, Mogdred, and the people of Tyrant's Hill that fight back the evil. The hatred of the orcs is what drives us. For people like Feanor, the Lochduin, his tasks are folly. Fighting for the sake of others has never gotten me anywhere. And then he thinks. But fighting for preservation, to live another day, that is something I can believe in. And if what you say is true and he is gathering an army...
Did I say that?
It's kind of what Feanor said.
Yeah, just didn't say that.
If he's gathering those from around Middle-earth, around Wilderland, to stand against the shadow, well, that's one step towards survival, regardless of the intention.
There is a great difference between survival and living. If survival is all you've ever known, then I can see how it would be difficult to give it up. but if you ever get tired of hating, if you ever get weary of nothing but fighting, if you ever want to feel what a real summer breeze feels like, then I would suggest that you consider your options very carefully. There are
Is
rooms.
Jalen threatening him, saying she's going to kill him?
Jess.
Did you just call me Jalen?
Oh my god, did I? Oh my god.
You did.
How did I? No.
I have been
He's dead.
struggling.
Dead.
I've been doing it so well.
Oh my god.
Jess
The fact
just
that
threatened
both
him
of their
to say-
names start with a J really
Yeah,
throws me.
That's tough.
Did
Yeah.
Jess just basically pull a knife and said, "If you ever want to feel a summer breeze again, think wisely, buddy."
No, that's not my intention. That's not what she meant.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead,
just
Jess.
bad with words, okay?
No, go ahead, Jess. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you ever want more out of your life, if you ever get weary of nothing but rage-filled days and nights, then well, I know that a father's love does not easily diminish. I'm sure he would welcome you back into his house if you were to say but a word. The trees in Woodman Hole are quite the thing to behold. They are truly beautiful.
Make a persuasion check for me.
Oh my god! Okay. Oh my god, no. It falls on deaf ears. I got a nat one, unfortunately.
He looks up to the
Right?
sky. He looks up to the skies and to the stars. I've been honest. I have been vulnerable. And now it is up to the fates to decide my destiny. And with that, we're going to cut back over to Valineth, Theodric, and Feanor.
Okay.
Dusk has clearly begun to set. The stars are out. The stars are alive. As you sit around the lamplight, discussion has been slow, contemplative. Arguments for and against both Saywin, but also the inclusion of Mogdred, have come to pass. Valineth, Theodric, and Feanor, which way is your vote going to fall?
Okay. What do each of us think about the Saywin? Let's talk about that. What do we think about their community? Should it be?
Well, I think. I think
what are we gonna say our
overall, we decided we were just waiting on Radagast's vote basically for that one, unless anyone else's
yes,
minds
we
had
were.
changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because we said yes to that one, didn't we? For the
Yeah, it was 3 to 4, 3 to
It's
1,
4-0,
I think.
I think.
Oh, it's 4-0. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. And then obviously Valineth is thumbs up for Mogdred as well, with caution, but a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's So is Feanor. He thinks that it should be discussed more between Mogdred and the council themselves and these people, but he does think that the opportunity, the chance, should be given.
Yeah, Theodric feels the same, especially after remembering his dream and the words of wisdom from there. He also is trying to figure out whether it's when the right time to maybe mention Baron and the note should be. Because mentioning it now could turn the entire council against the idea of allowing Mogdred in. But at the same time, it's a knowledge they need to know. Or they should know, I guess.
I feel like if the council needed to know that, Radagast would have said
Radagast
something.
doesn't know yet.
Yeah, he
Um,
doesn't
actually,
know the
'cause we're-
return of Baron.
So
Oh, okay.
because we're like I'm assuming like we like the group's discussing, then we go off and we're talking amongst ourselves. Can we actually ask Radagast like to pull him to the side and
Talk to him?
like talk to him about this?
This is the time to do it.
Okay. We gather up and we go to talk to Radagast. And to let him
Rough
know.
him up a
Theodric-
little bit first.
Theodric, you've got a bit more experience talking to, and like Vanor's eyeing him like really weirdly. The strange,
Hey, he is a
powerful
wise
wizard, man.
he is a wise and
Yes.
powerful wizard.
Yes, I believe you, but I live in the woods and I don't have bird droppings all over me, so it
No,
takes a special kind of person to allow that to happen to them.
okay, so he likes nature a little bit. Let's not.
Yeah, I think a little bit too much. But yes, I'll follow you, but I might stand a little bit away. I think I can smell him from here.
Okay.
You do so. As you approach, you notice that he's deep in contemplation and muttering to himself. And then
So Radagast.
What? Yes, what is it?
Well met. I'm glad to see you again.
Ah, Theodric, have you found answers?
More questions, but some answers. I'm on the right path, I feel.
Yes, questions. Questions always in need of answers.
But that's beside the point right now. I have felt the need to tell you now, or as soon as I could. My companions and I came across your man Baron on our way here.
Did you indeed?
Yes, he was rather injured from various spider-inflicted injuries, but he had a note on him, and I present the note to Radagast.
Troubling. Troubling indeed.
as he sees the words, basically they're all orcs at Fenbridge.
Yeah, it is troubling. It's also concerning that after my companions and I found him, while my good friend Valineth and our friend Jessamine were tending to his wounds, they were luckily hidden out of sight, but some of Mogdred's men arrived on horseback, claiming that they were searching for a criminal that had escaped their confinement. I'm not sure if they were talking about Baron or not, but it seems to be quite the coincidence, in my opinion. I'm not sure if somehow the two things are connected, but I felt that you should be aware.
Baron is no criminal.
And it is his
Good intentions that make him swift. What he does. This is why I picked him to, well, look in on the enemy and their movements. Ever since I ventured down and banished the necromancer with the White Council, my mind turns to that place. More so than I ever wanted it to. And every moment I attempt to forget, news continuously is brought forth. The information that Baron retrieved, well, it seems to be the exact same information Mogdred presented to us today.
But that brings the question. If it was Baron that they held captive, why so much trouble over simple information like this?
And he begins to deeply think and consider.
Valna speaks up. I only heard the encounter. I didn't see it in person like Theodric did. However, the intentions of Dagmar and the captain's name was Dagmar, by the way. Dagmar and her associates seemed to be duty-driven more than anything. It didn't seem like they had any evil or ill intentions, more so just hunting down a criminal of sorts. So, I don't know if they're of the understanding, or maybe it may not even be Baron who they were hunting. It's makes me question it indeed.
You said he was accosted by an arachnid, a spider of Mirkwood.
And he survived after 10 days, I could see from that wound. He's a strong young lad, that's for sure.
He knows the ways of the wild. That's part of what makes him valuable. He most likely did something to, well, stop the encroachment of the poison. He might not be the most skilled herbalist, but he knows his way around a medicine and a weed or two. He is strong, but that still doesn't answer the question. I do not fault Mogdred. Well, at least this is my personal opinion. For holding someone who trespasses on their lands. Whether we knew it or not. Clearly he is no man of mercy. And the fact that Baron was able to escape with his life. This information, though. It is curious, don't you think?
With the necromancer gone, who could these orcs be uniting under?
Who indeed? There are many evil things that lay in the south of Mirkwood. There are many evil things that dwell in the shadows. The necromancer, having the ability to bring those back from the dead. That is a special evil. One that is good to be banished. Orc infestations. They could be led by many things. Men. Orcs. Something more sinister. All it takes is power to control. Those of no will. Those trodden on by Shadow. Understand this. The real danger of Shadow doesn't lie in the acts that people do in order to gain it, or the crimes they commit. The real danger of Shadow, the real source of it, is the ability to lose your freedoms. When one succumbs to Shadow, you become a slave to it. It starts with choices. And for some, perhaps, encountering grievous things. But the Shadow weighs heavy. And once one succumbs to it, you lose your freedoms. Orcs, goblins, these vile creatures of shadow are easy control for this, but it requires a malevolent power to lead armies. This is something I must investigate myself. And he looks to you. Something together. For those who stand in the light. That we must bring an end to. But it is curious. It is curious how a man, the Smaug Dread, has survived so long in shadow. And he is drenched in it. But I don't think he is completely consumed. He is strong. A strength I think he found from his father. And Gomer has a strong sense of justice. And he has an ability to read people, an uncanny ability that even I myself haven't quite mastered. Yes, the birds and the beasts of the world, I know all too well. But it is people. It is people that I struggle with, which is why I find it hard to come to decisions on such matters. I find it hard to jump to conclusions, which leaves me contemplating for years and far too long. Until that is, the shadow pushes my hand. I do not blame Mogdred for the actions that he does. Considering his state, he was honest with us. He hides nothing. We best be careful. Whatever decision comes out of this Folk-moot, I do believe it will be important to shaping years to come in the future. And we must hope beyond all hopes that people are worth saving. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. May I ask, where is Baron?
He's home with his mother.
Yes, his mother kind of abducted him.
Ah, no, he's in good, capable hands. I shall maybe pay him a visit later. Spider wounds, well, they don't mend in a day or two. Perhaps I can make some kind of a poultice. Thank you for the information. I do think I know. And I do know who to follow.
And with that, in Gomer, he looks to all of you. Which leaves us to decisions. As difficult as they may be, what say you? Men and women, leaders, friends, to the woodland realm, to the woodmen. What say you? What say you of Saywin, Radagast? And Saywin, he stands. Please. We come with nothing but good intent. Please. Do any of you want to speak on behalf of Saywin? For this fine...
Can I insight Saywin, actually?
Yes, absolutely.
Something that Theodric said strikes true in Valna's heart of finding it could be the people. Oh, I guess technically Valna doesn't know. Never mind.
No, but
He'll still insight check because he's always insight checking people. Sorry about that. I know Theodric mentioned earlier about sometimes the most shadowed people can bring prosperity, and the most innocents are that way. But anyways, what kind of insight?
I might have told you that. Theodric did confide in Valineth about his nightmare the other night.
Yeah.
So
It was a
potentially,
13. Mhm.
13.
Potentially,
Theodric
yeah.
can tell you about that.
There you go.
He seems tired. Not only weary from the events that had just happened, but he seems
Mhm.
as if he is on his wits' end waiting for an answer. He doesn't seem to
That
be
makes
holding
sense.
any kind of sway one way or another. He's just tired.
Valineth will just notice.
Does
And pay you the
anyone
fool.
want to speak on his behalf before Radagast makes his final decision?
No,
Valineth.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I was just gonna say Valineth's gonna be like, well, it seems like if Mogdrig does join us, we have the protection that we need, at least on the front. We're not having to sacrifice warriors because we already have warriors there on the front. And we're going to need some coin in order to fund these ventures. And it seems like Saywin and his people have nothing but good intentions.
Make
I don't see any.
Make a persuasion check for me.
$11.
Indeed. Well, what you say is logical, meaning it seems as if Saywin's fate rests on the fate of Mogdred. Let us vote on him, if that is okay, Ingolmer.
And Ingolmer nods. To you, our welcome guests, what say you? And he mentions over to Valineth, Theodric, and Feanor.
We're saying yes. We're for
Yeah, say yes to the dress.
We have come to the conclusion that Mogdred and his people deserve, at the very least, a chance to be one with the people of the woods.
I'm going to have you make a charisma saving throw for me.
You got this.
Sure, I got a 6.
Galavira, she looks to you. She shakes her head.
She wants that cash money.
Well, no, she doesn't. If she did, she'd agree to this.
You understand. We've been safe. We've endured a lot. I just fear rapid growth isn't the way. So it's going to be a no for me and Rowanhold. The next person is going to be Fridwold.
In years of my travel, I have seen lost souls.
But never before have I seen someone like this. But he is not deceiving. He is not deceptive. I think there is hope still yet within him. I value that. Yes. We will accept him. Moving on to Radagast. Radagast, he mentions.
Yes, what you say is true. He is a curious one. One that I shall keep my eye on. And because of that, I will say yes, for the time being.
Next is Ameliota. You already know my answer. It's gonna be a no. Even if terms come to pass, we are not under the influence of Mogdred and Tyrant's Hill. We are far too close. I fear it's inevitable. We will be paying servitude either way. Either as allies or as enemies. I trust in the people, the people of the Woodmen. We're strong. We can endure. So that is 2 in favor, 3 in favor, 2 against. Heartfast he looks. Ingolmer, what say you? And Ingolmer stares blankly. Heartfast says, "This is a difficult decision. This is your son. And the final say should not rest on your shoulders. Speak freely, one way or another." To which Ingolmer, he looks to all of you. He looks at his axe, and he shakes his head. No. That is someone that I'm not knowing of. I can't trust them. My goal is to protect the people. And I see anger and hate in his eyes. I don't think he's too far gone. But no. Which brings it to 3 versus 3. And Heartfast is the final decision. Is there anything that the 3 of you want to say in order to vouch for or against? To influence this in any way?
I feel like we've already given our.
It's a good time to reiterate, maybe, like make a specific plea to him.
This one's
Perhaps.
this one's for Mogdred, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For Mog. Wait, and Saywin, ultimately.
Because I don't know, because like my thought is everything that they like rejected Saywin for, Mogdred has, right?
Well,
They rejected
yeah.
Saywin because like he doesn't have any Woodman blood in him, and he has no way of like defending himself, so they'd have to spare warriors to do that. Mogdred has warriors and he has Woodman blood. Like he has everything that they.
We could also argue that the coin that they managed to get from them could be given to Mogdred's people instead of, so it's like equally taken from the communities instead of just affecting purely Mountain Hall. Because without Saywin's people, it falls solely on Mountain Hall to provide those materials, those precious metals, those things that you can only get through trade or through mining.
I mean, true. If this all goes bad and neither of them are allowed, we can just fucking hook them up together. Just be like,
and ultimately, too, he has been keeping the orcs at bay.
Yeah.
Like, he has been killing a bunch of these orcs and keeping them from coming into the civilization. And ultimately, he is a man of shadow. He said he does have hope in his heart that he can overcome it. And he's just a broken boy that, if led astray, could go against the Woodmen.
A thing we could bring up as well is that Lord Hardfast and his people themselves are bulwarks against the shadow. They fight all the goblins in the Misty Mountains. They are the people most like Mogdred's people. Mogdred's people, more so than anyone else here. They have a very strong burden, and should their burden be like lessened, they still have to deal with the mountains, but warriors can be sent to help and be better training people who know things that they don't. Will this better benefit them and the woodman as a whole. And
So here's the
Feanor's
last-
story, yes, for that.
And here's the last question we have to answer then between the three of us. Who has the best
I will say this.
rolling?
We don't have to role play that all out. I think you all explained everything very precisely.
Mm-hmm.
Between the three of you, I want you to pick one person who will be a spokesperson to address all this, and you can use either persuasion or traditions in order to do so.
Okay, who's got the highest persuasion?
And
I've
will
got
be at-
zero
This will
persuasion.
be at advantage as well.
What's people's in? Like, what is your addition say? Because I've got a +1 to traditions.
I got +2 to traditions, +0 to persuasion.
I've got +0 in both, so
Okay, so
So
Valnif.
it would
I'd say
probably be
Valinith and his traditions would probably be a.
us having like whispering amongst each other as people are giving.
Also,
their-
I'm just saying that if they have Mogdred's men around, they could potentially use them as patrols so that they don't have to pay the awnings so much.
that is another thing. It could help lessen the tolls, which is something specifically Lord Hardfast was complaining about. So,
Yeah, that's a good thought. I don't know how well that would work because I feel like that would make the Bjornings upset. Just a thought.
Well, maybe they should stop trying to, scam people out of all their money.
But they can't have a monopoly. We need to have multiple options so that they can maintain fair prices.
I don't know. I just found it kind of unfair that the Bjornings don't like them because they're stopping the eagles from stealing their sheep, and it's like we got threatened not to hunt too much, so they obviously understand hunting rules. So it's like, do they not understand theft?
Mhm.
Like, they threaten us not to steal all their sheep and their stuff, but they're okay with their allies stealing sheep and getting angry over that. I don't
They
know.
are animals. In the words of
I mean,
Sorry, I just had to bring that up.
Everything's an animal to you, though.
Except
Should I roll
elves.
this, by the
Yes,
way?
at
Traditions?
advantage.
Let's do it.
Alright, here we go. Come on. Natural 20, I don't need to roll again.
Do it again just to see if you get double net.
See if you can
Double
get
20.
higher.
That's a 22, by the way. Yeah, that was way better. Or a 5. So we'll go natural 20.
With that roll and with the evidence that you or what you say in
Logic.
favor of Mogdred, you bring it to Heartfast, and Heartfast he immediately. These are my thoughts exactly. This is a practical alliance, perhaps at first, but as we develop relationships with the people of Tyrant's Hill, perhaps as he said, our traditions will begin to rub off on him. He is damaged, and we are here to pick him up and heal his wounds. After all, isn't that what the Woodmen are about? Being there for each other. Loving one another. But ultimately, not giving up on those who are lost. I vote that we let him into the fold. And by virtue of that, Radagast,
By virtue of that, Saywin, welcome to the council. Your people are welcome here.
and Golmer, he stands up and he nods his head. And with that, the Folk-moot of Roskabel is at its conclusion. And he immediately walks down the path.
Feanor's going to quickly go up to Galavira and Emily Yoda, and he's going to like grip them by the forearms and be like, "I understand you made your decisions. I respect you all the more for it. Sticking to what you believe in for your people. I hope there's no ill blood between us because of the decisions that I made and the beliefs that I held. I still consider you as both great friends."
And we consider you as well, Feanor. The kindness that you showed us, well, it's the antithesis of what we saw in Mogdred. which is why we couldn't trust him. Please understand this.
I understand. Believe me, I do. It's a tenuous decision, but I believe that where there is strength, there can also be taught compassion. Not everyone who feels compassion can be taught strength.
Wise words. And Amelioda, she especially nods to you. If ever a time is in need, and if ever a time you require any kind of assistance, the people of the Black Tar are at your back. And Gaelavira says, the people of Rowanhold as well. Yes.
Amelioda, if ever there is a time that Mogdred and his people do pressure yours, find a way to tell... Oh my god, why am I... to tell Ngulma, you'll be able to find a way to get a hold of me. This will not be something that I would let slide. I would take responsibility in my parts for allowing his people to join the fold. Hold myself to that standard of helping defend your people. You are the ones who will affect the most. You are my friends.
And as you are ours, thank you. Thank all of you for everything that you've done for us. The insights that you've shared. Everything that you've done to help us grow, to bring us together. I know that you weren't able to make your peace here at the council, here at the Folk-moot. But I do believe that most everybody knows your intentions. Whether it's official or not.
Yes.
And Golmer has quite a bit to deal with. His heart is heavy. And as are ours. This is not a joyous occasion.
Speaking of which, lads, we should probably go find where he's gone. We should really go make sure that he's okay. Is his axe still on the ground, by the way? He, like, threw it?
So basically he like threw it, and then basically like the head of the axe just like in the ground right by like the central lantern, and it's still there. He never picked it up.
Feanor is going to go retrieve it. Okay. And to like slip it on his back next to the spear. Mm-hmm. Let's go find Ngulma.
Jess, make a perception check for me.
Oh, cool, because I've been doing so well at
It's not persuasion. It's perception.
19.
Hey, there we go.
Alright, we'll hang on to that. Remember that number. Valinith, Theodric, where are you, what are you two doing?
I'm gonna go with Feanor to look for Ngulma.
Valinith is gonna do the same.
And as you depart, you see the faces of Heartfast, the stoic man of Mountain Hall. Gaelavira, Amelioda, Seywin, and a very confused-looking Beaufrey. As you depart
about
the
him.
hill.
Oh, actually, will I have time to talk to Heartfast later?
You have no way of knowing.
I have no.
Yeah, if you want, you can stop to talk to him. Feanor's just going off to see Ngulma. But like, no, you don't have to come with him.
Theodric, upon seeing Heartfast, is going to just like peel off to talk to him.
Alright, and you do so. Greetings and well met. You are a Master
Well met,
Theodric,
Lord
is that
Heartfast.
correct?
That's correct. I am a Theodric of Rohan. Forgive me for interrupting your business, but I was hoping to speak with you.
Oh. Indeed. What is it that you have to speak with me of that, well, you seek my attention for?
Well, Lord Radagast actually pointed me in your direction a while ago, and it's taken me a while to actually travel down these parts with my companions.
Oh, Radagast, always bringing trouble to my doorstep. And you could tell that he's just like shaking his head as if this is just a common occurrence?
I find I'm just going to be blunt. I when I'm in battle, I suffer from a blood rage, I suppose. I see red, and I can just hear my blood pounding and lose most reason. And Lord Radagast suggested you may have a way to deal with that.
He closes his eyes. 1, 2. And he looks at you sternly and stoically. Theodric. While this isn't something that is uncommon to novice combatants, tell me, what do you know of your people's history? The tales of your mother, your father's lineage. Have you ever delved into the shadows that surround your own personal past?
Unfortunately, my parents both died when I was quite young, and I have no real way of knowing where my people came from, aside from, the obvious knowledge that all men of Rohan have, is that we are descended of the men of the North, same as the men of the Woodman realm.
Indeed. The Horse Lords of the South, the House of Errol. Yes. Many of the folk down there descend from that prestigious bloodline. But this is not something that is lost on me, Theodric. I know what it is like to see red. I know what it is like to see the blood of your enemies on your axe and beneath your boot. For the people of Mountain Hall are descendants of the House of Grimm. We are sons of a lineage shrouded in both glory and shadow. Generations of our kin have long pondered the destiny and the weight of our curse that we bear upon our shoulders. Each one of us an heir to a legacy that stretches back centuries to the House of Grimm. And the first rulers of Mountain Hall. Tell me, Theodric, from what you know of your mother, what you know of your father, you say that they died at a young age. What did they look like? What can you remember?
I remember my father was tall and stern, and he had incredibly blonde hair and a very large beard. He didn't laugh often, and he was fierce, but sad after losing my mother. As for my mother, she died in childbirth. I have no memory of her. I never knew her. But I'm told she was fair of hair as well. And slim, though tall for a woman. But aside from that, I have nothing.
Well, what of you? Not physical characteristics, but Theodric. What are your pursuits? What are your desires? What do you want to make of yourself in this world?
If you had asked me 6 months ago, I would have simply said I wanted to learn how to control this blood rage and go back to Rohan to continue to serve Lord Esmond. But, after traveling for the past 8 months, 9 months with my companions, I've seen so much of the world, even if it is just a small fragment. And I've met so many different people on so many different paths, but the one thing that they all desire is safety and protection. So, I guess right now I want to get strong enough to help my friends in whatever they want to do. And eventually, I want to use all the connections that I've made throughout this journey to help strengthen the people of Middle-earth, if even in a small way. To learn more about the people of Middle-earth so that when I do return back to Rohan, I can faithfully serve Lord Esmond as his shield and as his advisor. And hopefully bring some sort of understanding and, I guess, some sort of hope for diplomacy to Rohan.
These words that you tell me, while I know not of your past, while I know not of your blood, they are something that I can relate to. You see, the men of House Grimm are not like the other men of the North. We are a people born of mystery, tragedy, cursed with the power known as the power of battle fury. It courses through our veins like an unrelenting tempest. Each son of the Lords of Mountain Hall are carefully watched, trained, and scrutinized to master this curse from childhood, lest it consume us. Those who fail to command it have never met their end. In one bloody way or another, it will find them. I don't know if this curse runs in your veins or not. But what you seek and what you desire, what your quest holds in front of you, are ways to control it. Ways which the young people of Mountain Hall are taught since childhood to learn how to wield to varying degrees of success. Aye. 112 years passed, we nearly lost Mountain Hall to the wrath of Chieftain Broast Ironlimb, at a time when Mountain Hall was laid sieged upon by the goblins of the Misty Mountains. In his blind rage, Lord Broast met his end at the steps of the Snowfells, abandoning his men attempting to hold the ring wall from the goblin menace. He climbed that cragged step, never to be seen again. In a final effort before the city was overrun, his son, Horab, my grandfather, pierced the Goblin King with an arrow. But none before he saw the head of his father hanging from the wretched creature's belt. You see, Lord Broast did not meet a warrior's death, but rather a fool's death, by giving in to his anger and abandoning his people in their time of need. Your intention to protect, that will serve you well in learning to wield this power. But do know, Theodric, wrath, anger, something we saw manifest tonight here in front of us, and he points down to the many heads that the guards have started to collect at this point. Wrath and anger are hateful things. Yet those weakened by shadow hug them tight. Remember those words, Theodric. They have echoed through the bloodline of the House Grimm for centuries. The battle fury is a tempting force, and one must tread carefully when wielding it. The young lords are trained to master this battle fury through strict mental training. We are taught to harness our anger by confronting our inner shadow, the demons that cloud our vision,
by engaging in discourse founded in justice rather than wrath. Have you heard the voices? Have you felt the desire of the dark recesses of your heart, Theodric?
Yes.
Have you experienced loss? Loss beyond all
Quite.
tell.
I don't know if it's beyond all tell, but I've lost both my parents, and I recently lost a beloved comrade.
Have you met suffering, then? And become victim to fear, uncertainty?
Yes.
He shakes his head and he contemplates. He looks to you. This is a destiny born to those of such power. You may not know it, you may not know the lineages, but this rings true. You may, somewhere deep, hold the curse that all in Mountain Hall must follow. Suffering that we experience, the seemingly endless loss that we must endure. It feeds our ever-growing need to protect that which we hold dear. In my own experiences, in my father's and fathers before him. But if we do not confront that inner shadow, the desire to protect, which we at Mountain Hall deem a just fury, well, it turns to wrath, and eventually it festers. It corrupts into vengeance. There's a difference between seeking justice and seeking vengeance, you know. Though it may not always seem like it on the outset. Justice stems from duty and the betterment of the lives of the innocent, those who are too weak to stand against the evils of the world, while vengeance serves only the selfish desire to end those who hurt us, eventually turning us into the very thing which we seek to destroy. Neither path is easy, but one who seeks justice will eventually find solace in their actions, even if it means that evil overcomes in their attempts to seek justice and hold the darkness back. The one who seeks vengeance will only invite more darkness into their heart, and in the end, fall into the void of endless guilt, regret, and suffering. These words my father used, they helped me. Helped me to determine whether an act is just wrath or vengeance. I ask myself these questions whenever I perform an act against another that would end in violence. Can you nourish anger against another and expect to be healed of the darkness in your heart? Can anyone refuse mercy to another like himself and pardon his own transgressions? If one who is but flesh cherishes wrath, who will forgive his acts of hate? And these are the important questions to ponder. In regards to how I learned to tame my battle fury, well, I pass them to you, and I have my father to thank for the answer. Rest his soul. He taught me when he confronted by using my strength to enact justice rather than vengeance, I am to remember this. Remember my death. And so, I pass this knowledge to you. Theodric, remember your death. It is a fate that awaits us all. And while we do not always have a choice of how it comes to pass, we do have a choice in how we meet it. Do you wish to die with hate or fear in your heart? Or do you wish to die in peace, knowing that your actions saved another, or provided the spark of hope needed to inspire others to rise against injustices? It's a difficult task, but set aside your enmity, your hate, your desire to see your enemies under your blade, and remember your death, and cease from the ways of shadow.
I see. I thank you very much for your counsel, Lord Heartfast, and will think on these words greatly. And Theodric bows very lowly.
And in response, Lord Heartfast gives a head bow. May justice guide your path, and may you be the shield that protects others from harm and the temptations of shadow. If you and your company shall ever find way at Mountain Hall, I'd be happy to make counsel with you, check in on your progress, but more importantly, to see friendly faces in these dark times. I bid you farewell for now, and until we meet again.
Until we meet again, Lord Heartfast.
He bows. Jess, as you sit down at the campsite, Modred and his people, in their rest, some of them begin to fall asleep. One of which being Modred. You look around, you clean up the bowls and the plates of all of the feasting that had previously occurred. You look to the horses and you see that they are happy to breathe the summer air and to feel the summer breeze in their mane. You look around and you see the number of people who have gathered outside of Roscabel. You see happy, jovial faces, laughter shared, and you can't help but wonder, what is it? What is it about him that he is unable to see the joy around him? You gaze towards the front gate and up the path which you came. You see the faces of Baldur and Belgo talking happily amongst themselves, joined by a few other woodmen talking with their escorts that they will later go in the near future through the east Bight where Saywin lives, back to their homes in Esgaroth. And you can't help but feel this is the end of something. Or perhaps the start of something. And with that, you notice, far up the path, a golden figure trotting its way down the path. You recognize this creature as Shadrach from the Easterly Inn.
Okay.
No.
Yes. Okay, I'll go out to meet him.
Another dog? I know.
He is looking and sniffing around all kinds of campsites. He seems to be investigating people one by one as he passes them, sniffing, some of them letting out their hands so that he can sniff as well, even standing up on two legs as if to get a closer look at them. He goes down and he continues sniffing the ground, and he looks, stopping at all of the stalls. And immediately he stops. He turns and he looks. Your eyes meet his, a familiar stare. This is the happy boy that you've come to know. While rather odd. but you have never seen him leave the confines of the Easterly Inn.
Yeah.
And you notice something tied around his neck. It looks to be a scroll of parchment.
Cedric, come here, boy.
And he sees you, and he sprints towards you, elegantly.
Oh, no, that was a mistake.
And he jumps on you, and then realizes,
Pulls over.
and he sits there as if to scold himself. And he begins
my
sniffing,
goodness.
and he begins like rubbing himself up against you as if seeing an old face after so long.
Aw.
And he continuously
I
does
pick myself
this.
up. Yeah, dust myself down, like give him good chin scratches.
He loves it. He is a dog after all. We might forget that,
Yeah.
but he is a dog after
He's
all.
still a dog. Okay, what do you have? And I'll examine the piece of parchment.
You unfurl it, and it is addressed in a very similar script, one that you have, or a very familiar script, one that you have seen many times before. Eloquently handwritten, and it is sealed with what looks to be the seal of the Brandy Bucks. You unfurl the paper,
Okay.
and you read.
Oh, he's got an actual. Okay,
Would you like to read it out loud, or would you like me to read it out loud?
I'll read it out loud, but I'll read it once through.
Yeah. He looks around to see, as you're reading through it, to see if he recognizes anybody else. He seems to be searching for somebody. Continues his sniffing as you continuously read through this text.
Yeah.
Yes. Read whenever you are ready to do so.
Okay.
I know it's a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got like halfway through the first paragraph, so I think I have enough to start. To whomever it may concern, I hope this letter finds you in good health and spirits. My name is Dodie Brandybuck, and I'm writing to you with a heavy heart, seeking the assistance of hardy and well-traveled adventurers for a most urgent and perilous quest. I'm a close friend and business partner of... just skip that part. And I beseech you to hear my plea for help. My quest is to find my dear brother, Dindy Brandybuck, who embarked on a journey from the Shire to the Eastleigh Inn as a part of a supply caravan. His expedition was meant to last no more than 2 months, and I insisted that he correspond with me every fortnight to update me on his progress and safety. Regrettably, the last communication I received from him was July 12th, just before he departed from Rivendell towards the High Pass. Given the expected duration of his journey, he would have returned home within a mere 2 weeks. Alas, no tidings have reached my ears, nor have I received a word of possible delays or setbacks. I'm prepared to offer a fair and just reward to anyone who bring me help. My brother safely back to the Eastleigh Inn. Based on the last information we possess, Dinny could be anywhere between the High Pass and the west middle vales of Wilderland. Time is of the essence, and I fear that for his survival in the wildlands that lie ahead. I implore you to consider my plea seriously and lend your skills and courage to aid in the search for my brother. Any information, assistance, or guidance you can provide. I lost my place. Will be greatly appreciated. You are my last hope. I place my faith in the valor and camaraderie of adventurers like yourself. Please respond at your earlier convenience that every passing day brings greater concern for my brother's well-being. Please send word with my loyal hound, Shadrach. If you accept this offer so I can make the proper preparations, may luck and good fortune guide you safely on this noble undertaking. Sincerely, Dodie Brandybuck. P.S. In case you harbor any doubts regarding credibility, I again mention that I am a close... Okay, never mind. Never mind.
He
Forget it.
mentions Bilbo like 5 times.
Yeah, I
It
love
really
it.
does. And it's dated the 28th of July, 2947.
So what? That's just a couple days ago.
Indeed. And with that, we will
Okay.
bring our session to a close.
Oh my god. Let me actually read like the last bit of it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you
Jess
want-
would definitely like roll her
It's
eyes
funny.
and not.
For sure.
It's
For sure.
funny.
Da-da-da-da.
P.S. In case you harbor any doubts regarding the credibility,
Yes, yes.
I again
Yes,
mention
Bilbo
that I am close
Yes, Bilbo
compatriot of
Baggins.
none other
Oh my
than
God.
Bilbo Baggins. Yes, the very Bilbo Baggins who played a pivotal role in the downfall of the
my
fearsome
God.
Dragon Smaug, the restoration of Erebor and Dale, and the significant reduction of the goblin population in the north. If you require assurance of my character and integrity, my esteemed friend, my business partner, Bilbo Baggins, can undoubtedly
My
vouch for my
God.
trustworthiness.
If we ever go to the Shire, Feanor's gonna be like, "Oh, hey, I was told to come meet you because of this guy who runs an inn. Like, he says you're business partners and best friends. So obviously, you know, can I come in?" And Bilbo is just gonna like the doors, just it's like no response from inside. You hear a lock turn as he locks the door.
Does the door have a lock though? The door handle is in the middle of the door. It's so impractical.
Maybe the lock's just massive and it spans the
So
width.
weird.
Yeah, it's like one of
And
those
the
like
height.
bar locks.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, why don't we go ahead and jump into thoughts about tonight's session, starting with Jess. We'll go Jess, Feanor, Valineth, and then Theodric tonight.
We're really
Jess.
mixing it up tonight.
Yeah, we are.
I like to keep us on our toes. Yeah, I had a good time. I quite like. Yeah. I like leaning into the fact that Jalen like still sort of feels like she doesn't have a place
Jess.
here.
Jess, not Jalen. I'm sorry that I messed this up that one
No,
time.
it's okay. I have to think about it sometimes. 'Cause it's just RIP. But yeah, like Jess doesn't really feel like she has a place there still. Like she still doesn't quite know what's going on, and like she's very sheltered of other cultures and stuff. But like she's like, yeah, these guys probably need food. They look like they've had a rough day. Yeah, I quite like that. And like the little therapy session was great, even though like it basically accomplished. I don't know if it accomplished nothing because like I have a better understanding now, but at the same time, it's like yeah, it's very reminiscent of someone who's not very wise, just like doing the best.
I'm not gonna lie though, that was one thing that threw me for a loop. It never in my
Really?
wildest dreams did I, in the middle of the Folk-moot, feel that Jess was gonna stand up in the face of Mogdred, this kind of intimidating figure, and be like, "Hey, you and your guards, let's have a meal together."
It
No,
was
no,
the
seriously.
ultimate power move.
It's power,
was-
but it's beautiful. Like I think that's something that really is a representation of, you know, the simple folk of the Shire and how there is power in that. It is a power move, but it's like so not at the same time.
It's the
If
opposite
you
of
told
a power
Mogdred
move.
it was a power move, he'd be like, "What are you talking about? You didn't like kill 5 of the people there." As
You
an
gave
example."
me food. I gave you nothing in return. I have the power here. So no, but
Eh.
I think it's beautiful, and so like, I did not.
Yeah, like I'll tell you my sort of thought process into that because like the Folk-moot to me seems like a very serious, very formal affair that he was not strictly invited to. So I thought, okay, let me try and diffuse the situation a little bit. Let me like introduce you down for a meal. And like we can discuss things because I imagine for hobbits, like a lot of things are discussed in very casual settings. And you know, in saying that, like everyone else from the Folk-moot, like when they were done, they could come down and like sit around and talk over a meal. Yeah, it was sort of my thought process.
Well, and
It
culturally
just made
too.
sense to me.
Culturally,
Yeah.
it fits absolutely, because one of the things that hobbits are concerned with, if you remember in The Hobbit, he meets all of these dwarves over a meal. And that's something
Yeah,
that they
exactly.
do, is hobbits are supposed to be hospitable, and what does that mean? That means full bellies and conversation. That was perfect.
Precisely.
I think
Yeah.
that was played to a T. Whether or not you wanted to get your like insights or persuasions or perceptions or whatever the case in on him, like you said, I think it does. It's starting little by little to open you up from the shelteredness of kind of your upbringing to being able to understand. Like, people talk about the shadow. I have no idea what that means. Oh, maybe I'm starting to realize it a little bit, seeing someone so affected by it. But like in small doses. And in ways, in settings where you're comfortable as a character, and it's just like there's something that feels off, and that would make sense. So I think
it's a good thing. One other thing that I noticed when I was like going through previous episodes, it wasn't like so prevalent in this one, but something I just wanted to highlight. I love it whenever Theodric and Fëanor like have a chat. I just think you two have just such an interesting like brotherhood dynamic.
A camaraderie between us.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
oh my god, wait, the dog can fly? What are you talking? No, the dog can't fly. What are you doing? We're not leaving this place till we find out.
That is exactly what I'm talking about, actually. Like,
You opened my door.
What?
It's
Yeah, he can
how?
serve drinks, turns and he looks at it and goes, oh my god, you were telling the truth.
It has
You must know.
thumbs.
What?
It's
How
everything
does
about
it...
Shadrach. It's like when you guys were hunting, and even just like having like little one-on-one conversations. Like, I can't properly express it in words, but you just it impresses me. That's all. It's great. I love to see it.
It's good fun. Good fun. Which brings us over to Fëanor. Your thoughts on tonight's session?
So actually, just building on that last bit, actually, I do like the little interactions that we make and that we've had. You know, even though Jess is a fairly newer character, still getting opportunities like climbing a giant tree to go live in it, and Fëanor just being like, there is no problem here. She got up there, and she got up here fine, and she said she's okay with it. And like, full on taking you at your word, and you're like, yep, I'm fine. Yep. And he's like, okay, cool. See you in 2 months. Like, see you in like 3 weeks. Boom. Gone, you know, but all like little moments with Valinus, and he's like him seeking wisdom from Valinus, or yeah, just like talking nonsense with Theodric because they're both like young adults. But for tonight's session specifically, I would be like, look, Mogdred's in the wrong, and like this is like, you know, kind of not a situation that personally I would want him to come and join my community, but with everything that Fëanor's been working towards and everything that he's trying to accomplish, this could be a big step in the right way. Even just having one more military-minded person on the council could help sway votes, could bring new arguments, could help strengthen the whole area, improve it for everyone. So like, yeah, in like even moments of like when Mogdred was talking and Fëanor, you know, they had a bit of discourse, then he got up and greeted him because he recognized him as a formidable like young man who has turned into a great warrior, and that is something worthy of respect regardless.
Right.
He didn't particularly like that. I used to serve the necromancer bit, but like he's trying to be better, at least from what he can tell. And it was especially, I was so surprised that Jess did that as well, and I think it was a good thing. It was like it allowed us as the players to see a different side of him, and then we got to cut back and be like, "Wow, wasn't that guy just a prick?" But maybe he deserves a chance. Like, not knowing that he's just like kind of with very little prodding, opened up a lot more deeply about what he'd very quickly run over with us.
It was also a very, in my opinion, natural way for him to leave while you can have a discussion about his fate within. where like you could like the way that it's written, everything it's completely left up to interpretation. Whether you leave him there and the decision is made with him there, like as Seoin was, or whatnot. It was going to take a lot to get him away from that situation, truly. And the fact that you were able to do that because of the actions of Jess and whatnot, not only did it throw me
through
for
hostility,
a loop, but
yeah.
And
with
the fact it was
what was
hospitality
it? A 10
kindness.
persuasion check?
10 persuasion. It was just what you needed. So,
and like you weren't just doing it for him. He's from what we can tell, he's a very duty-driven kind of dude as well. So like you offered him and his men food and a place to sleep, which he probably wasn't expecting to get. He was probably expecting to come crash this thing. They say no, and then he goes off in a huff.
What can I say? No one expects the Hobbit Inquisition.
Oh my god,
see, that's a good one.
But no, it's very good, and this letter at the end is going to be very interesting. Maybe Fëanor will see some more of the elven folk that he just left behind. He'll be like, hey, long time no see. If we go through Rivendell, perhaps.
I mean, yeah.
Let's get that spa day we were talking about.
Yeah, spa day. We don't do a beach day, we do a spa day.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I had to say. I really loved the thing with Theodric and Lord Hardfast. I felt like that was something that felt like it's been a long time coming, and he's been really like trying to get to it. And it's like giving him a big piece to that puzzle that is Theodric and everything that entails for him. So it was satisfying to see that happen as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Good
you.
done.
Next, Valinith, what were your thoughts about tonight's session?
It was a really good session. I am, after coming to the realization that Dagmar, that's her name, right? Dagmar is literally just living her life as a reverse harem. No wonder they want a bunch of wives sent to them. No, but aside from that, actually my favorite part of tonight's session was Theodric's conversation with Hardfast. I think it was really good character building for Theodric. I think this is kind of a peak pinnacle moment of Theodric understanding his bloodlust and his blood rage. And I don't know if Dom wants to talk more about it, so I'll leave it at that. But for me, that was a peak thing. And again, for being someone who looked like a meathead, he had a lot of wisdom in those words that he said. So yeah, it was good. It's good, and obviously all the other things that everyone else has said as well. So yeah.
One thing that I will point out in regards to Valinith and your interactions, the one where you decided to use the feature with like the automatically passing whatever the check was.
Mhm.
Oh man, that was a good one to use it on.
I've been holding it in my pocket.
Well, not for that long.
For a while.
Not that long.
For a while.
But that's one of the things that the vast majority of people going through this are not going to experience is how their decisions shape his destiny, and shape the destiny of Middle Earth. A lot of people, and I will just say this kind of as like a just above game. I've watched many sessions of this go down, the specific Folk-moot. Never once, in any occasion, have I seen people be on board with letting Mog join the people of Ulderland, or the Woodmen. And the primary reason is because he comes in like a ball of fire and so hated. And his what he is asking it seems, especially on a base level, completely unreasonable. Like, he is a ball of fire. And I think this whole session kind of helped to unpack him, starting with that automatic success that Valinith saved his ability to do, and then even further being emphasized down into the conversation with Jess, where like you got to see him more so than just like, oh, this guy's sketchy, like what is he, as in like he's a victim, yes, but he's also very much shaped by what he has become. And the vast majority of parties, because of the lack of rules and stuff, don't actually find out exactly what his deal was. Most of them know he's in Dol Guldur, but they don't know his role in Dol Guldur. the fact that you were able to unpack that with some key roles and some well-placed things, like that was something that was really, really good. And I think that ultimately helped led to my first ever experience of seeing Mogdred join the Woodmen, or at least being let in to join the Woodmen.
And you're right with that.
I will say that as much as he's a victim, I will say that he's the survivor.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
honestly.
And that's kind of like his mentality. He does not view himself as a victim at all. If anything, he embraces his past. And yes, bad things have happened to him, but it shaped him to become who he is, which is why he casts aside his idea of Ingolmer, doesn't take on the persona of what he learned in, like, from the Necromancer in his time in Dumbledore, but like he's found his newfound freedom, and so he's creating his own person out of that. But that isn't to say that other outside influences can't help shape him for the better, too. To help him in that survivor mentality, to learn to trust, to learn to do all these kinds of things. And I think all of that stemmed from really good role play, some decent roles, and a very well-timed used ability by Valineth. Figuring out that automatic pass, because that was a very high threshold pass. And so that automatic pass was very good.
And I will say, too, especially after hearing that conversation that he had with Jalen about, like, I'm just going to stick with whoever's in power.
It happened again.
I'm sorry, I infected us with saying Jalen.
I think it's just late and we're all tired.
But with that specific conversations they had together, I think it really, what's his name? Mogdred said, I'm going to stick with whoever's in power, meaning that if we potentially let him go and the Orc Star did getting power, it makes you wonder if he actually would have actually joined the Orcs again, and started fighting towards evil.
My gut instinct is no, because he seems pretty set on hating orcs forever.
He is, but he's also like, I just want to survive. I just want to survive, and that's my specific thing. And if the orcs,
he's gonna survive at the end, whether it's seeing the world burn or seeing the world fall into shadow, he'll be surviving through it.
It makes me really sad. Like, I think Jess is like, there's a large amount of sadness in hearing his story, because, like, yes, he's fighting to survive, but he's not surviving for anything. He's just surviving for the sake of surviving. There's no substance to it.
I'm so glad you picked up on that. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you picked up on that, because that's exactly it. He has a purpose, but not really. He's just, like, living day by day. He's a survivor in the sense where it's just like, there's still this nothingness, and he's waiting for something to come in there and fill him with purpose and fill him with hope. So he's fighting, but he doesn't have that purpose yet.
Yeah.
So kind of what Valineth and Dain was saying, like, with the whole idea of, like, he could have potentially turned to evil. Maybe that purpose turns to malice and festers into watching the world burn and him seeing that happen. Or, on the other hand, watching, becoming a part of something greater and something beautiful. Seeing the simple acts of eating around a fire and remembering home and what that means and what that is and the power of that. Love, which he retorted at, and what that means. It's one of those things where, he's complex, even though on the outside he's not. So I'm glad that a lot of that was being able to be unpacked tonight. I think that was, like, really, really crucial role playing on everybody's.
He's got a lot of baggage.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys, I gotta head out actually. So enjoy the rest of your nights.
Yep, have a good one. Which will leave us off with Theodric. Your thoughts?
Tonight's session was awesome, obviously, as always. Well done. I think it's very interesting looking, like, obviously, like you said, it's hard to empathize with Mogdred at the start when he comes in so strong, so, like, I want women, I want gold, I want a seat at the table, you know, like, I want these people to stop expanding into my territory that they didn't know was taken. You know, it's very, like, on the surface, that's very unreasonable. But, as we've seen, like, like he said, like, where I come from, if you don't demand things and you don't fight for them, you don't get it. You know? So he comes from that, the strong get what they want, and, like, if you don't fight for that, you don't get anything. which is, it's sad, but that's what he's grown up with, being how he survived. He survived by being strong and demanding, I don't know, respect, survival, whatever. That said, like, obviously what worked to survive amongst orcs isn't going to work with the rest of the world. Like, there's a reason orcs are, they're of the shadow, they're evil, they're cruel, they're all these horrible things that the rest of the world doesn't abide by. And I think it'll be interesting seeing if we can teach him, pardon me, teach him that sometimes a more delicate approach is needed, or a more diplomatic approach, I guess, is needed. I think Jessamine did great in getting him to opening up with food. Chicken soup for the soul.
It would work for me. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
And I absolutely loved talking to Lord Heartfast. So glad he's not just a big manly meathead. Many words of wisdom and a lot to consider there. Like, about what he said. Like, I don't like the fact that he kept referring to it as a curse is interesting. But I'm glad that he's given Theodric the tools to eventually overcome it. Obviously it's not like, yeah, I'm cured and I'm gonna, do everything. But, like, it's been so long coming, and I'm glad I decided to go talk to him, because it's what I've been working towards for the last whole campaign. But yeah, it'll be interesting to go rescue Dodie.
Dindy.
Who cares? All the hobbits have.
Hey!
Hobbits all have similar names. We've got,
Excuse you.
No, I don't need to be excused. I'm right. Like, look at you. Open your genealogy charts, Jessamine, and tell me different. Tell me there aren't dozens of names that look pretty much identical on there.
I mean, that's because they're family names, so they need to be passed down from generation to generation, so the lineage doesn't get lost.
It's the same situation as dwarves: Beefer, Bofo, Bomber, like Killy and Philly, and but yeah, it's good. I feel a little frustrated with myself because I kind of got all tongue-tied when I was talking about Theodric's, I guess, his main goal now. And it kind of just sounds like a cheap rip-off of Feanor's, but it's kind of not.
I actually, in universe, it's not a rip-off of... Because I think Feanor for the longest time was kind of aimless.
Yeah.
He was just kind of wandering around the world, and now he's... For example, you might try and help Feanor in his endeavor, but if it's like we got word that Valin's father's been seen in the north or something, Feanor might feel obligated to stay where he is, or it might be a difficult choice. But Theodric's like, no, this is important to you. This is the thing we need. We're doing it. No questions asked.
I guess what I wanted it more to be, rather than just kind of like what Feanor's doing, is Theodric kind of wants to see more of the world and more of the people and the cultures and everything, and kind of take that with him back to Rohan, because they're kind of not isolationalist, but they're kind of just... I guess that's the best word for it. They are kind of isolationalist. They're just kind of on their own. They only really interact with other... they only really interact with the men of Gondor, or, Saruman, or, other men. They don't really have dealings with elves and dwarves, and they think hobbits aren't real, so... he kind of wants to open their eyes to... hey, there's the big rest of the world out there, and we need to be ready to do our part, I guess, is more what he wants.
I think a good way to articulate it is, especially because of the visions that you saw of Gondor burning and stuff, it's that's how you're going to strengthen Middle-earth to overcome that.
Yeah.
It still fits very much within the goals and the ideals and stuff that you've established for your character. That this is what he would do to try and stop this devastation.
Yeah.
But as I said, Feanor is the emissary, where Theodric is the bulwark. Where it's like you both are slayers. You kind of have similar roles. You kind of have similar desires, but the way that you go about it is completely unique and completely different. And they both serve very important roles, fulfilling the same goal of fighting off the shadow. And so you can achieve those in various different ways, which I think adds to your own little arcs about, personal character growth. And it's not one-dimensional. I don't want you guys to ever feel like your characters are feeling one-dimensional, because you guys do a great job of playing them in a way where, I know what Feanor's hopes and desires and dreams are, and I know what Theodric are as well, and like what he's overcoming and what he needs to do. And both of you are still finding those questions. What do I need to do in order to accomplish this task? And that's the point of adventure, right?
Exactly. But yeah, I just felt like I didn't articulate it because I'm sleepy and haven't had energy drink, and I've cut off caffeine and sugar.
I'm very
and
proud of
everything.
you, by the way. Good job for making it thus
Thank
far.
you.
That's tough.
This is day 6 or 7 of no caffeine and sugar.
Oh wow!
Very
If
nice.
Bro,
If
Yeah.
good
you
job.
are if you are struggling, just remember this. Remember your death.
Remember my
Remember
God.
your death.
That was honestly so metal. Like
Oh,
I love
boy.
that so much.
Yeah, but speaking of being tired, I had better go before I fall
Yeah.
asleep at my desk.
No worries. We're
Okay.
going to go ahead and sign everything off here. Go ahead and peace out, but we're going to close down the stream here and now. Thank you all for joining us here for another successful session of Adventures in Middle-earth. Join us next week at 7 p.m. JST for more adventures here in Middle-earth, as they are brought to the attention of this note from Shadrach and the Brandy Bucks, and also trying to figure out what is going on in the head of Ingolmer, and where to go with from here now that Mogdred and Saywin are now a part of this broader realm of the Woodmen. Also, check out, we have a bunch of other streams this week. Dain will, by the end of this week, by Saturday, he's going to be finishing Octopath Traveler 2, so tune in for that. He streams on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. On Saturday at 10:30 a.m. JST, we are continuing Everlast, our own homebrew kind of world, new mechanics and everything set in the world of Everlast. It is they're in the middle of a dungeon right now, so they're going to be seeing some combat after quite a bit of time. One of our players, Max, literally just got married last week, so sorry for pushing it a week later, as a lot of the people were invited to that wedding. And so with that being the case, join us for Everlast, and then after that, Dain will be doing on Saturday, Mountain Time, an 8-hour stream for the basically follow-a-thon, and he's going to be finishing up Octopath and doing some more Let's Go Eevee Nuzlocke stuff. So check him out for that. It should be a really, really fun, long stream, but fun time. So check him out. We have a sponsor here at Fantasy Forge Studios, Dai Snacky. They're a Japanese sweets and luxury treats company, and they sell a number of snacks, including their popular Japanese snacks in their omakase box, traditional Japanese snacks in their omakase looks box, and cute kawaii snacks, character-themed goodies in their kawaii boxes. If you do order from them, say that Fantasy Forge sent you at checkout, mention us, and it helps us out. And if you put your Twitch name, you will get entered tickets into a raffle for when we hit our referral limit. We are going to have a giveaway, a free omakase box here on this channel. But until then, I will see you guys this Saturday, and if not, on Monday for my Baldur's Gate streams. Thank you for the players. You guys are amazing as always, and you guys all rest up. Have a good one, and may the road go ever onward and onward. Bye, everybody.